You can go ahead.
Thank you. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024, please come to order? This evening's meeting will be a virtual planning and zoning meeting hosted by Zoom. During this meeting, our procedures will be as follows. 1, when you first enter Zoom meeting, you'll be in a virtual waiting room until the meeting host admits you. 2, please be aware that your camera, if you have one, and your microphone may be muted by the meeting host when you enter the meeting. You can turn on your camera at any time so that you can be seen by others when and if you choose to. In order to run an efficient and an orderly meeting in this virtual environment, unless stated otherwise by the meeting chairman during the meeting host may keep everyone other than the commission members muted. You will still be able to hear everything said by the commission members, even if you're muted and or your camera's not on. There will be opportunity for public comment during public hearings, at which time public participants will be unmuted. 3, during the public hearing, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explaining to the commission and others present what is being requested. The meeting host will share all related documents on the screen as needed. In addition, all applications and supporting materials for each application on the agenda have been available through the public meeting calendar page of the town website, www.guilfordct.gov, and also through a direct link on the planning and zoning page. 4, comments of town agencies will be discussed as applicable to the application. There will be clarifying questions from the commissioners, and the town planner will direct our attention to any additional items pertinent to the application. 5, after all commissioner questions are exhausted, those who wish to speak in support of or in opposition to the application will be asked to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and make a statement. 6, the applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public and or commissioners. 7, once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to remain or leave or remain for the balance of the public hearings and the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. 8, decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Department at 203-453-8039 or by emailing planning.zoning@guilfordct.gov after 9 a.m. 9, all actions taken on applications tonight by the commission will be by roll call vote. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are the following members who will please identify themselves. Kevin Clark.
Present.
Bill Freeman.
Present.
Ted Sands.
Present.
Do we have Philip Johnson?
No.
I don't see him. Sean Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank DeAndrea.
Here.
And I'm Scott Edmund, Chair. Alternates tonight are Jason Marchi,
Here.
Larry Rizzolo. Do we have
Here.
him? Hey, and Bob Harrington.
Here.
Since Philip's not here right now, we'll have I think Larry is next up to be seated for the evening. Staff President are Ann Harchin, Town Planner, and Janique Morgan, Administrative Assistant to Planning and Zoning. This meeting will be recorded via the Zoom platform and made available on the town website for viewing. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Ted. Second from Larry. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Public hearings.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
we have 2 items. Well, first, we skipped over the discussion of proposed text amendments, so we may want to vote to hear that section later.
Yeah, could I hear a
Go ahead.
motion to amend the agenda to have the discussion of proposed text revisions to be at the end of the regular meeting?
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you, Sean. And a second from Ted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so now we're still on the public hearing. Go ahead, Ann.
Secondly, both the public hearing items 209 Hemlock Avenue and 382 Northwood Drive have requested to remain on the table for this meeting, so we have no public hearing items for this evening.
Can I have a motion to table those 2 to the next meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Frank.
Second.
Who do we get for the second? Kevin. All in favor to table?
Aye.
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 Well, that will end the public hearing portion of our agenda. We'll move on to regular meeting. 439 Boston Post Road, map 49, lot 049-025, zone PRB3. Applicant Postolo and Associates Consulting Engineers PLLC on behalf of the owner APT Foundation. Site plan review for a new medical office use.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, this was tabled last meeting, so you will need to vote to remove it from the table.
All right, do I have a motion to remove from the table?
So
So
moved.
moved.
I heard Ted, and I'll give the second to Sean. All in favor to remove from the table?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's have it. All right. Take it away.
Yeah, good evening.
Good.
Hi, my name is Steve Postolo from Postolo and Associates. I'm representing the applicant, the App Foundation. This is a property on 439 Boston Post Road. That's an existing structure that we're looking to renovate into a medical use. We're approaching screen now, so you can start. We can talk to the plan. Okay, I'm assuming everyone can see that.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this structure, the footprint of the structures is the same as we are proposing. We're just adding a small entrance towards the right side where the cursor is. Essentially, this is a PRB-3 zone. The permitted uses are a medical clinic, dental offices, and we're proposing a medical clinic. The lot area that's required is 20,000 square feet. This lot is 25,482 square feet. The lot shape is 100 foot as a minimum, and we have 127 foot. The lot frontage is 100 foot. We have 198 feet. The height of an allowable structure is 40 feet. This structure is only 22 foot tall. Our setbacks from a minimum front building line setback, a minimum of 30 feet to a maximum of 50 feet. This structure is 41.3 feet away from the front yard. The minimum setback requirements of 12 feet, we have 25.2 feet. Minimum rear setback of 12 feet, we have 49.3 feet. We have there's a maximum building lot coverage of 25%, and this existing structure is only 16.06%. The total floor area of a maximum of 50% is similar to it's a one-story structure. We are improving on the impervious area, which I'll talk about when we get to the landscaping plan. The parking for medical use is 1 per 200 square feet. The structure is 4,093 square feet. And it would require 23 spaces provided, and actually, excuse me, the requirement is 21 spaces. So 21 spaces required, we are providing 23. And we also have provided a loading space also to the building. So we'll show you a landscaping plan. So essentially, all of the gray area is existing blacktop. We're not adding any impervious area. We are removing some in the back where we added this red maple. We also added additional red maples across the front as per code recommendations, and additional plantings in the front of boxwoods around. Well, we are not going in with we have an existing sign there. We're just going to be planting. Those are boxwoods. What are they right here?
These right here are boxwoods. These right here are perennial from the signage.
Okay, so what this site plan actually has demonstrated also is the darker parking lines on the northern side of the property. We just striped that parking lot to accommodate that. As I mentioned before, we're not increasing the impervious area, just adding striping in the back. Oh, that's 5.
Junique, it's work dash iPhone.
No, not that. Nothing's, yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, so the lighting plan, we have, this is a photometrics plan, and anywhere, it's kind of hard to see, but anywhere that you have on the side yards is a zero cast of any light that we're proposing. The street lights, which is represented by that photo there, that allows lighting in the front of the building. We've added sconces underneath the existing soffit shown there. We also added these
They're goosenecks.
yeah, gooseneck fixtures, these 3 gooseneck fixtures that you see there on the right side of the building.
That's per the design review board's recommendations.
And then we also have regular shielded lighting behind the exit doors in the back of the building. Let's go to the elevation. Yeah. So the existing structure basically has vinyl siding on it. Can you zoom into that better? Yeah, so the existing structure is basically a vinyl sided building. We're going to remove all that. We're going to be adding a hardy plank to it and enhancing the soffits and the fascia boards, and also on the right side, that's where the entrance will be. It's a cantilevered section for the building to allow the entrance for the medical use. That's essentially our presentation.
The sidewalks that you're showing, are those, I can't remember, are those existing or are you installing those?
These windows here?
No, the sidewalks.
Oh, yeah, the sidewalks are existing out in the front, but we added a small piece of sidewalk to connect around the entrance area. To show you.
Does not want to go.
And I have a question. I maybe jump the gun, Scott. This is Sean. I just wonder what the proposed hours are. Is that jumping the gun, Scott?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so to talk about the programming, we have Dr. Lynn Madden
Right.
with us tonight. She's
So then- that's great.
great.
Okay, great. Let's ask, any other commissioners have questions about our other drawings, with the architect? It does look like, just to double check on the sidewalks, it looks like you're adding the ADA requirements at the ramps. Is that correct?
That is correct, right? We're adding them to the existing curb cuts. We're not adding any curb cuts. We're just adding upgrading the sidewalks for handicap accessibility.
And extending the sidewalk to the property line. Right now,
Yeah,
here, we are extending it to the property line.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're improving the impervious. Can you zoom in on that piece? And is that a curb that you're putting around that tree?
Yes, because that's an existing blacktop area. We had a discussion also with the Wetlands Commission there, because there's a proximity on the adjacent property. We're not within the 25-foot, so we didn't want to do any more increasing in that area. So he recommended we keep it to this 230 square foot to create an area for that plant and get some more impervious area that way.
Okay.
Scott, if I may.
Yes, Larry, go ahead.
Hi, it's Larry Rizlo. You mentioned there are 21 parking spaces, but I'm not counting that many. Can you point out where they
Yeah.
are?
Because what we kind of only darkened up the ones that we were restriping, basically.
Yes,
There's existing parking that's lightly dashed in there. Maybe we'll zoom in.
there's 8 existing right here. There's 2 existing handicap. And there's 3 existing spaces on this side, and we're proposing an additional 10 in the back.
So we're
I see.
we're proposing 23. 21 is required.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
one other question I had is, it looks like, I just want to confirm, you're not proposing any sort of, seating area or anything on the outside of the building. It looks like you're just leaving it as is on the exterior.
That's correct. Scott, yep.
All right. Any other questions for the architect and engineers? And anything on the architectural engineer drawings that you wanted to highlight from time review?
Yeah, we got some late comments from both engineering and our environmental planner. Just so everybody knows, and it is part of the proposed motion, that the town engineer has requested that sidewalk sections that are cracked or pose a tripping hazard be replaced. And the extension of the sidewalks, which you're showing on your plans, for the entirety of the road frontage under the permits via DOT and using DOT standard details. Also, the review of the lighting plans show that they are not in conformance with our current regulations. So we'll need a resubmission of the lighting to be in compliance with that. And then lastly, from Kevin McGee, he requests that the applicant, and you'll need to do this before, if you're approved, before you come in for building permits. The applicant needs to go back to inland wetlands because of the change of the island in the parking lot.
Oh, okay, we did that. We had discussed that with him, but we could certainly do that. I think last time he did it administratively because it's such a minor. And we're
Yeah,
not-
I can't speak to his process. I'm just telling you what the report was coming back from them. But
All
those
right.
were the only issues that came up.
I don't think that's, thank, they don't seem too bad.
Thanks, Ian.
Hey, Scott, even though I'm not seated, can I ask a question at this point of the design
Sure.
of the? I'm curious, did you discuss anything in here about septic system for this? And is the current septic system there, fully adequate? Nothing would need to be repaired?
Yeah, that's actually true. I had a conversation with the health department and I've got the information from them about the number of gallons that this system can handle. And we went ahead and we had demonstrated to her that what our proposed use is because of the way that it's being used and the patients are not in very quickly.
Okay.
They go in and out quickly, rather. They don't stay there long. So we've discussed it. I provided calculations that showed that we would be under that requirement. So the health department, upon my review with them, they were okay with the existing system. So there's no modifications necessary.
Thank you.
All right, great. I guess we'll open it up to Lynn. Lynn, did you have any, Sman, do you have any statement that you'd like to go over? Or do you want us to just ask you our questions about operations?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have about operations. I will just say on behalf of that foundation, we've appreciated the town staff and our ability to ask questions and work together on this process. So I'm here to just to participate and have and answer what questions I can for folks.
Thanks. Sean?
Yeah, Lynn, what are your proposed hours of operation?
Sean, the program will be open Monday through Saturday. It will open at 5 o'clock in the morning. And generally speaking, the patient care work will be completed by 1 p.m.
By 1 p.m. So, and so, what, I mean, you're obviously, you're interested in this site because of need. And can you talk about how you, decided to
Yeah, sure, I can. So The state of Connecticut in general has a very high rate of opioid use and other drug use. So we are relatively high in the United States in our rate of drug use and in our rate of death from opioid use disorder.
But can you define use versus addiction?
Yeah, sure, I can try. I mean, people who use opioids ultimately, almost always, if they use them other than in a way that they may have been prescribed, almost always become addicted to them. If you become addicted to an opioid, it's very difficult to recover from that addiction without evidence-based treatment, right? So what here in the state of Connecticut, one of the big problems, public health problems we have is the rate of opioid use and subsequent dependence and addiction, as well as the attendant harms such as death from overdose. When you look across the state landscape, one of the places where there isn't very good access to treatment is actually on the shoreline from, let's call it Brantford or the edge of New Haven north to New London. There is not great treatment access there. Here at App Foundation, located primarily in New Haven, we have a clinic in West Haven and one in North Haven as well. Here at the App Foundation, at our New Haven location, we serve about 400 people who live in zip codes represented by, from the area I just described up the shoreline. And so, I'm sorry, Sean.
So I think, for the people that are attending this meeting, it would be very interesting to know whether this is maintenance treatment or solving their problems so they are no longer addicted to opioids or any other maintenance drug that is designed to help them live their lives normally.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure that's a planning and zoning question, but I can give you the short answer there. From a medical treatment perspective, right? The only known evidence-based approach to helping people end their opioid addiction are medications for opioid use disorder. And there are 3 medications in this country that are approved by the federal government for that purpose. One of them is methadone, one of them is buprenorphine, and a third one is called naltrexone. So if you have an opioid use disorder, and in order to achieve a 1-year period of non-opioid use, so one way of thinking about how people get better, that's one of the markers we use, a 1-year time period of non-opioid use. 90% of people who have an opioid use disorder achieve that using a medication. So only about 9 or 10%, or 9 or 10 people out of 100 are able to meet that 1 year of non-use mark without using a medicine.
Thank you. My final question, and I will shut up after this, is have you had any notable incidents at your other facilities that operate like this one?
We've been operating for 50 years, 52 years to be exact. We can count a number of incidences that may have occurred in and around our programs on one hand. The programs that are most similar to this one that's planned for Guilford are in West Haven and North Haven. And I can say that there have been no major incidences at either of those programs, which have been in operation for a little more than a decade.
Thank you.
Lynn, one kind of follow-up question to that. Could you just walk us through quickly the general process? Is it typically folks are coming here, parking, going in, and then leaving? Is there anyone that's hanging around or staying for an extended amount of time?
So this is a program. It's not just receiving medicine. So part of the programming is that people have access to primary care services. They have access to vocational services. They have access to group counseling and individual counseling, as well as assistance with other kinds of potential social services. So you might come in on a particular day and just receive your medication because you don't have these other needs at that time, or you're not being asked to do a group counseling or individual counseling session, if that makes sense, right? So most people on most days come in, they receive their medicine, and they leave because they go to work, or they go back home and get their kids off to school or what have you, right? On some days, a person would come in and that person would need to go to their recommended counseling services, for example, or they may want to see the physician because they have a sore throat or they want to get a flu shot. You know, there are a number of reasons why you might be there. In terms of hanging around outside the building, we do not allow that. It's one of the reasons why this location really is ideal for us. It's very close to good transportation. People come in, they receive their services, however long they stay. When they're done receiving services, they leave the premises.
Scott, I have a
Scott?
question. I have a question.
Let's see, I saw Jason first. So Jason.
Yeah, Lynn, could you, are these people coming in primarily by appointment? So they have scheduled times, or is it walk-in so that you could get a sudden influx? How might that traffic?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jason. So when we have a look at, you know, kind of traffic flow, that is one of the ways that we set our hours, right? So the reason that we open as early as we do is because a lot of people have other things that they'd like to do today, such as go to work, et cetera, and not just, you know, get their medical care needs met. In terms of how many people per hour, what happens in our other clinic programs is the persons sort of level it out themselves. So people come in in ways that fit their own needs, if you will. They know what the schedule is because it's posted in advance. So for example, if you're going to do a group therapy and you want to do this group therapy today with counselor A, then you know what time counselor A is offering that group. So you may come in and receive your medicine right before that, or decide to receive it right afterward, go to counselor A's group, and then you're done for the day. All the other days, maybe you come in much earlier than that because you have other things that you want to do. But people don't like to wait, right? So we design our spaces and our clinic programming so that they really don't have to wait.
Thank you.
Larry.
So if I understand, your patient population is from Brantford to New London.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many, what's your demographic? How many patients do you expect to serve?
Okay, good question, Larry. So the total census of the program overall is planned to be between 360 and 400 people based on the persons that are already enrolled at App Foundation. Right now, the reason I'm not going to give you an exact number is it's possible that somebody has a job, for example, in New Haven, and they're going to continue to come to New Haven to get their medicine instead of in Guilford. But basically, there are about 400 people who live in this area who we will transfer to this place. Many of them do not receive medicine every day. As you go through the course of your treatment and you become more able to manage your own life, you receive medicine that you can take home with you, just like any other chronic disease that a person might manage, like diabetes, for example. They don't come as often. So when we look at that patient population and we do our math, like how many people do we expect to show up on any given day, we're thinking that we're going to have between 65 and 80 people per day over the course of that 8-hour day that I described.
And I'm just curious, of those 400 some odd people, how many are from Guilford, would you think?
You know, I don't have that exact number, but there are about, True, do you have that zip code list out? I'll dig around for it, Larry. I have it somewhere. But we just use the shoreline really as a demographic. We don't, it's hard, as you know, to navigate into New Haven. If you live, once you get off the interstate, you have to drive in the town, you have to get around. I mean, it's not that easy for people necessarily if it's something that they have to do, regularly.
All right, great. Kevin?
Yes, good evening, Lynn. Kevin Clark with the commission. I'm wondering, so you said there's a facility in West Haven and a facility in North Haven. Do you know how long
Yeah.
they have both been there?
How long they've been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that opened in North Haven opened first in 2012. And the one that opened in West Haven opened about 5 years ago.
Okay, thank you. Were you involved in the application processes on either one of those?
I've been with the App Foundation for almost 17 years.
Okay, good. So do you remember if there was actually public participation in either one of those applications?
Neither of them went to public hearing to my recollection, Kevin. They did not go to public hearing because we were careful to select properties that could be used by, that were properly zoned for our
The Zoom
use.
meeting, it already started.
Okay, so very similar to the application that you had before us. There were site plan applications basically in West Haven and in North Haven.
That's right. In
With no-
both
with no
cases,
public input.
yes, I will tell you that in both cases, we held public information meetings in each of those communities. And Matt Hoey and I have talked about doing that in Guilford as well, just so people can get their questions answered and we can see what their concerns or questions might actually be.
All right, so let me ask you this, based on that, I mean, this, you can tell me this is irrelevant, but should an application like this maybe wait until those public hearings are finished?
Well, I guess what I will tell you is that people always have questions about such things because they don't have good knowledge of these kinds of services. In general, it doesn't really change the design of the building or the locations.
Right, and this is Steve Fasola again. So I think it's important to recognize that, again, it is a site plan application in that the zone permits a medical clinic. Just want to make that point.
No, I understand completely. Thank you for that clarification. I just also think too that having the community behind your project is also kind of important too. And I understand what the restrictions are on a site plan application, but I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, any other commissioners with questions for Lynn? And any other questions from commissioners that might have jogged a memory for the architect or engineer? All right, and any other items related to this that you want to bring to our attention?
Nope, I had Janique send everybody a draft motion. And I will say that that contains all new conditions of approval, standard conditions of approval that came out of the new zoning ordinance. So it may be slightly different than what you have seen previously for conditions of approval, but they're all tied back to the new regulations. And as I said earlier, the only two additional conditions of approval have to do with the sidewalks and the lighting.
Hey, Ann, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
The lighting, when I was just going through that, it looked like it had that dark sky compliant. What was it that was off? Do you know?
The town engineer has requested, so Eversource, I didn't realize this, but Eversource in certain locations has provided site lighting for sites which individual property owners pay for. The city engineer has requested that those lights be removed and replaced with on-site lighting. And also, I believe the wall packs are non-compliant with the new ordinance.
Thank you.
But that's one of the contingencies that we're gonna look at, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion related to this site plan review?
it up.
A motion to approve, or what do you,
I mean,
believe the
a
motion has
motion.
already been written, so we need to bring it up.
let's bring it up. I so move.
Yeah,
Journey, can you share the screen on that one?
I'm sorry, you guys not seeing my screen?
no, we're
Not
just gonna
yet.
have, yeah,
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
You'd like me to read that, Scott?
Go for it, Bill, or at least the first part, right, Ann? Is that what we're doing?
Yes,
Just at the top there. Motion
top.
439 Boston Post Road. The Town of Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approves the site plan application for 439 Boston Post Road with conditions as noted in this motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Yeah, from Ted.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ted. All right, we have a motion and a second, discussion.
I'll just say, I think the application is complete. It's more than conforming, and it is, I will admit that I know people who are, have problems with substance abuse, and I think a facility like this that will serve the shoreline for, the area between New Haven and New London that's a great service to the community. And when you think about the extended families of the people who are being served by this, they'll be served by this too. So I think it's a good application.
Thanks, Sean.
I will second
I-
Sean's sentiments 100%.
All right, Larry.
I just had a technical question for Ann. As I look at section 49B, that a change of use within an existing building, provided the new use is allowed in this PBR3 district, doesn't need a zoning permit. Am I misreading that?
They were
Doesn't need a site plan review. So I'm curious what tipped this into the need for a site plan review?
What section? I'm sorry, Larry, what section are you referring to?
I'm in 4.9, which is for the Boston Road Business District 3.
Yep,
And section B, principal uses and structures.
yes,
And item 2 with the zoning permit, B under that section, change of use within an existing building provided the new use is allowed in this district and complies with the parking regulations.
So Larry,
Am I reading that wrong?
they're proposing changes to the site plan, to the exterior, and that's why it
I
falls
see.
under site
Okay.
plan review. If there was
Okay.
no changes being made to the exterior and it was just a change of use in the building itself, then you'd be correct.
I see, I understand.
Thanks for
I can
clarifying
confirm.
that, Scott.
Scott, we have two hands up. I'm not sure they're in order, but we have two hands up.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, this is regular meeting, although I do see Mr. Matt Howie. Did you want to say something, Matt?
I did, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. As ex officio, I want to respond to Mr. Clark's question regarding process. The Board of Selectmen declined a request from a member of the public to literally direct the Planning and Zoning Commission to have a public hearing on this particular issue. Nor did the Board of Selectmen deem it appropriate that this would be the subject of a special town meeting, because a special town meeting could not, by any action, impact the decision that this board makes. So I just wanted a clarification since that question was raised. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Matt.
Yeah, Kevin.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And I have a question for you, and I'm really I'm not being snarky with this question. I really want to know.
Well, then
that.
this might not be the appropriate place for it, Kevin.
Fine, I won't ask.
We,
it.
no, we, go ahead and ask the question.
You should be able to speak.
Go ahead, Kevin.
So, and this is like legitimate because it'll help me through with my thought process. So you have the marijuana dispensary, okay? Which I'm not saying it's my opinion, but some people might look at that as being a less harmless kind of facility in town. That had public hearings. It's had a very long moratorium put on it. Yet this facility, which some would be considered maybe more harmful to the community, is a site plan application with kind of a red carpet fast track. And I'm curious to know what the difference is in your thought process as to why the difference between those two things.
If I
Uh,
may,
my-
I'm going to jump in here very
Yeah.
quickly and just say that this is an as of right use under the new zoning ordinance that was just adopted. And this is not a red carpet treatment. Anybody who is an as of right use would get the same treatment on this application. And any other attribution of intent here is an incorrect interpretation of our process in planning and zoning, which attempts at all times to be fair and democratic and based upon the ordinance that was just adopted. So any other discussion about process should be directed to me and not to Mr. Hoey. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you, Ann. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
And
Yeah,
so
and
Kevin,
thank
the-
you for that.
the-
And Mr.
ahead,
Chairman,
Yep.
Mr. Clark might find it interesting that there was another developer who reached out to the selectman's office relative to the use of that particular facility. And it happened to be a national cannabis retailer.
Okay,
The difference with the cannabis, Kevin, is that there's state regs that require the town to have ordinances related to marijuana, whereas there's nothing specific to methadone or any use. So this case, it's a medical use, and therefore it's as Ann mentioned, it's a use for this space.
okay.
It's already in our regs. It was already in our regs before the update that we just went through, and it's in the regs now.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Did we have any other comments from Ted or Frank? I don't see Frank, anything to say?
No, other than like was kind of pointed out, this isn't as of right use, permitted use in this zone. It wouldn't even be before us right now if they weren't kind of changing that little entranceway on the side there, so.
All right. We have motion and a second. We've had our discussion, so I'll move to voting. Roll call vote. Jason Marchi?
Oh, you want me to vote on this?
Yes.
So
He's not- I believe he's not
Unless there's more
Oh,
discussion.
No, it's
Wait a minute.
it's Larry.
I wasn't seated, was I?
Jason wasn't seated, I was.
Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up. That's
There
Larry.
you go. Okay.
Larry Rizzolo, please.
Yes,
All right. Kevin Clark.
No,
All right. Ted Sands. You might be muted. Ted, you were muted before.
Yes.
Bill Freeman.
Yes.
Sean Cosgrove.
Aye.
Frank DeAndrea.
Aye.
And I'll also vote yes. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is 2458 Boston Post Road, map 78, lot 18-3, zone PRB 3,
No
applicant
questions.
Angelo Moscato on behalf of owner 2458 LLC. Site plan review to change office space to an efficiency apartment.
If I
There's
may,
somebody here.
Mr. Chair, this
Yes, Sam.
application, this applicant is not ready to be heard tonight and has asked that the item be tabled.
All right, do I have a motion?
So
Table.
moved.
Second.
I heard a second from Ted. All in favor to table, please say aye. Can,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
do you mind
Aye.
unsharing your screen,
Aye.
Jenny, so we can see everyone? Thank you. It was unanimous to table. Next item on our agenda, Andy, you want to go over the discussion of proposed text revisions?
We can either do the, let's do the land on Tanner Marsh Road and then circle back so that we're done
Sure.
with essentially site plan matters.
Okay, advisory referral, purchase of land on Tanner Marsh Road, map 75, lot 37. TOG purchase of Town of Guilford purchase of 24 acres and a conservation easement on 3.5 acres for $629,625 is referred by the Board of Selectmen. Is anyone presenting this, or is this just a referral?
I can, it's a referral, but I can do a quick presentation on it.
Great.
Just a few sentences. So per the Connecticut General Statutes, section 8-24, it requires the town and any municipality to refer land acquisitions to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a report prior to the execution of purchase. This is property on Tanner Marsh Road that it was historically a farm. And the idea here is to purchase it and a conservation easement on a adjoining property in order to preserve the character and the scenic value, including farmlands in alignment with the plan of conservation and development. The property will be deed restricted and will remain Class A open space in perpetuity.
Do you know when it says deed restricted, that's pretty general. Deed restricted to what?
To this
conservation?
Class A open space.
Got it, okay.
So it can be used for, just so everybody knows, it can be used, currently being hayed now, used for hay fields on part of the property. That can still continue as a use. Whether the town will be doing that or not, it's not clear to me who will be maintaining that. If it is hayed, I suppose the town could lease it as a haying property.
Would anyone like to make a motion related to this mandatory referral?
I'll move that we approve the purchase by the town of this property.
I'll second that.
Let's see. Ted, and second from Frank. Any discussion? These are pretty typical. Larry,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Ted Sands,
Yes.
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Sean Cosgrove,
Aye.
Frank DeAndrea,
Aye.
and I will also vote yes. All right. Anne, should we move to text revisions?
Yes. We have 4 items to discuss tonight, and I will tell you, excuse me, that the plan is, we went over 4 items last month. We're going over 4 items this month, and the plan is that Glenn Chalder will work with me in the next month to actually craft the actual text revisions, and we will put in an application for a text revision before the commission as soon as we can get that created. So we wanted to just make it, chunks of these revisions over time. I will continue to come to you over time. There are lots of little things we are finding in the ordinance that need slight tweakings to make it a slightly easier document to use. That said, there are a number of items our first 2 items that we're talking about tonight come about because of changes in state statute that were not captured in the original document. So the first, Jernique, I don't know if you can bring up the memo so that people who don't have it can take a look at it. The first section we're going to talk about is the sections regarding childcare and daycare terms. Public Act 23-142 requires that by December 1st, 2023, which we didn't meet, but we've let the state know, zoning regulations in all Connecticut municipalities be amended to so that the regulations do not treat any family childcare home or group childcare home located in a residence and licensed by the Office of Early Childhood Education pursuant to CHS Chapter 368A in a manner different from single or multifamily dwellings. So within the ordinance just adopted, we did treat those differently, so we are correcting that error. We have terms related to daycare and daycare, you know, to one word and two words. And those terms are applied to children, adults, and animals. So we have to make corrections to all of those. So the suggestion is that we revise the regulation to clarify the use of the term daycare and childcare and adopt the new regulations as soon as practicable. You'll see in the following 4 or 5 pages, all of the instances where we are suggesting changing definitions. And we did a scan of the entire document so that we could capture every instance of the contradiction. So I don't think I need to run through all of that. Hoping everybody did their homework, but I will take questions on this issue if anybody has any questions.
No, I mean, it seems to me like you're just making it conform and it's making it more efficient and easy to understand.
Yep.
I mean, this is caused by the change in the state law. I mean, we've got to comply with the state law, so.
Okay, do you want us to do individual motions for each of these, or do you want to do a general motion at the end?
You could do one at the end or individual. It doesn't really matter.
Okay,
We
we'll
just
do-
need to have your blessing at some point.
That's fine, we'll do one at the end then. I
Okay,
think, any other comments from commissioners on this? All right,
No?
next one. Amy?
okay. The second one is, again, comes about as a result of the change in legislation. And this one is actually a really good one because it, over the years, certificates of appropriateness of location, otherwise known as CALs, for motor vehicle use have flip-flopped in the state statute between zoning boards of appeals and planning commissions for like the last 10 years, and it's made everybody crazy. So what the state finally decided to do was to grant the authority to approve certificates of location to the ZEO and remove it with the authority that is currently held by the ZBA. But I will say you all have probably been through applications in the, in the last 10 years or so. If you've had motor vehicle type uses. So again, as follows from that change in state statute, we are changing definitions and the authority for who signs off on that and giving that to the ZEO. So any questions on that one?
Well, just as a hypothetical, since we don't have a ZEO right now, how would, if somebody wanted to do this, how would this work?
You have granted me the authority to act as a ZEO, and you did that in the
okay.
November meeting, I believe.
Okay, point taken.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, the third, go ahead.
Sean?
Ann, I just wonder whether you're enjoying that.
I really enjoy
doesn't
having
the job
three.
come with, doesn't the job come with its own pickup truck?
Yeah.
It does, and I have to remember to get out of the office to use said pickup truck so the battery doesn't die.
Thank you, Ann.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay, the third one I will tell you is me misreading the ordinance, because when I read it for the fifth time, I was like, what is my problem here? I don't have a problem. So I thought I had a problem with the ZEO sign off on signs, but then I realized I didn't. So you can just ignore this section entirely. There is no problem in the ordinance.
Great.
The fourth issue, we do have an issue. This is a readability issue, and I struggle with this daily because I'm like, well, what did we mean when we did these things? So you'll find in the tables for the residential districts, and if we could just bring one up, yeah, there's a lot of information here. And I'll give you an example in my daily work that I could not figure out what setback to use. So we have in the new ordinance, if you are placing new liquid propane tanks, you have to meet the setbacks. And I would ask you as the commission, if you could figure out, say it's a rear setback, can you figure out which one of those setbacks you use? Now, this is an edited version, so it's a bad question because you can't see the unedited version, but needless to say, we need to do some cleanup. Yes.
And are these propane tanks?
Propane tanks.
That's just an example, Sean.
This is
That's an
just an
example.
example.
Oh,
What I'm trying to convey is when you look at, say, the minimum rear setback, number 7, what it currently says is there's a number for principal building, swimming pool, or sport court. Clearly not that. There's B, which is an accessory building, 200 square feet in coverage or less. Clearly not that. There's C, which is accessory building more than 200 square feet in coverage. Clearly not that. There's D, deck, terrace, or raised patio, 2 feet. Clearly not that. And if a rear lot, and it's clearly not that. So
Right, so you're saying it wasn't obvious what,
I'm left
fall
with
under?
the judgment call. Yeah. So
yeah, I think.
So it
in
would
the
be
pa- in the
a basic
past-
setback.
It would be
Right.
A, because I buried a tank recently and I went by A, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
so in the past, and we've run into
Yeah.
this where there's been lists of things made and we've always run into issues when we start listing out things.
Right.
So I would agree that your adjustment here makes sense, that it's A unless it falls under certain categories in B, C, D, et cetera.
exactly. So the basic change here is this idea of a basic setback. So for each residential zone, it's a little bit different, but I think we've captured the intent. There's more of an effect in some of the districts than others, but most of the language that we're proposing changing here has to do with just adding the words, if a rear lot, to clarify when rear lots are called out individually, that we're talking about. If you have a rear lot here, your minimum lot size is 15,000 feet. Otherwise, people are looking at it going, what does this mean? And then for the other, like front, side, rear setbacks, we start with a basic setback, and then we only keep the things that are radically different, like a rear lot where you want to have greater setbacks because you want to protect your neighbor. So we went through each zoning district, and you'll see in the memo, we marked up each zoning district, and this was Glenn and I working together. I think this is better than where we are. I won't say it's perfect because obviously time will tell. But the attempt here was just to propose modifications that help clarify a fairly complicated issue.
and
so are you adding basic setback as sort of right? Okay, got it.
Yes.
yeah, I think that look, I mean, our original goal was to make this, was to clarify the code. And if this does so, even if we revisit it again for further refinements, I
Yeah.
think this is a good move.
Well, I would say that doing it this way actually makes it easier for us to adjust it in the future. If there is a specific
Right.
use or something that we need to change a setback for, it makes it way easier to add it now in this setup. So,
Yeah.
Excellent.
okay.
Okay.
Any-
And then just one issue that came up today, and this might be, again, the law of unintended consequences that has nothing to do with this memo, but I just want to ask the commission if there was a discussion on this. Jernique and I were reviewing a bunch of things today, and we realized, and this is my fault because I've just been moving too fast and haven't been able to vet this, but we realized that there are quite a few new items different from the old ordinance that require a zoning permit that didn't previously require a zoning permit. And my question is just a general one, as was that actually intended? Because what it does in reality is it can perhaps double the amount of work we have to do as staff, which is neither here nor there. I mean, it's a lot, but we have zoning permits for things like HVAC equipment, solar panels, things that in the previous ordinance you did not require a zoning permit for. We haven't done a full review. There are about 500 mentions of zoning permit in the ordinance, so we haven't vetted the whole thing yet. But was this intentional, or was this ever discussed? I just wanted to get a feel for this from you guys.
So just to clarify, you're not talking about like site plan review versus special permit review, right? Because
No.
we definitely went through all that.
Right.
This
This
is
is
just
zoning
a zoning
permit, so-
permit
yeah.
or something.
Is it building or zoning?
Zoning.
So we did not, to my knowledge, specifically discuss it. I would say that if you want to put together a spreadsheet and walk us through the ones that you might agree or disagree with, I'm sure we'd be willing to go through it with you. I don't know if I really
100%.
feel comfortable carte blanching, just saying take them all out or not.
No,
So
no,
I
no.
would,
I'm not asking you
Um,
to. I was just asking whether there was an actual discussion, because as we got deeper into just our little, 20-minute research project today,
right.
we were like, oh my gosh, we hadn't picked this up, so we have to start doing it. But also that it was so radically different from previous procedure. And I'll just say that for those of you who don't know how the office works, we have a whole front desk staff of from building department, health department, planning and zoning, and wetlands. And those administrative staff, they all work as a team to answer questions as they come into the counter. So we don't have somebody dedicated from planning and zoning always answering basic permit questions. So what happened was, when we figured this out, we were like, oh my gosh, that requires a zoning permit. None of those ladies, because I hadn't told them, knew that we required zoning permits for an HVAC change or for solar panels. And so they haven't been requesting that of applicants, because I didn't tell them, because I didn't think we had changed it that radically. So not only do we have to go through the ordinance and pull out every piece where we require a zoning permit now that we didn't before, but I also have to train that entire staff as to what the triggers are. So we have to come up with cheat sheets and things like that. And so the question was just about if that was an intentional thing or just kind of grew out of the ordinance, and we should maybe analyze it as we create new systems.
So two things, and then I'll jump to Bill with his hand up. The first is I would just have a quick discussion with Glenn Shalder. I would imagine that the reason why it pops up 500 times if it wasn't in the past one was because it was something standard in terms of his templating when it comes to updating regs. So I would imagine if there's a reason for the templating. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a change necessarily. Maybe it was something in the old regs that just wasn't enforced potentially. So we should have that discussion with Glenn. And then the second thing I forgot, so I'll go to Bill.
Okay.
No, you asked my question. It appeared to me that maybe it was there all along and
Oh.
it just wasn't being
Right.
administered.
It's not like explicitly written out that way. Yes. The other thing I just remembered. So the other part of it is that some of the things were added, right? So like solar panels, for instance, there was nothing in the zoning code
Right.
originally about solar panels. So that's something like, it wasn't necessarily a change. It just was a completely added section that wasn't in there before. So.
But I don't think that should be under the purview of zoning as much as just the building department.
Well, for
Well-
most items, I will say, they get a zoning review because I'm on the list to review every building permit that comes through. The addition of adding a zoning permit, one could say, that's negligible, doesn't really mean anything, except that I have to go into the computer and review the same thing twice. And, you add up 200 of those in a week and it's a lot of time. So
Is it then just a question of adjusting our processes to how you obtain a zoning permit then? Like, is the current process more onerous than it needs to be?
it
you know what I mean?
is, but we are also going to a new permitting software and that might be solved in the new software. But it's also
'cause
the question
when you mentioned that you're potentially double reviewing something like that, it just seems like a process issue, not necessarily a problem with it saying zoning permit.
it is
but-
definitely a process issue. It's
Okay.
not the fact that there is a zoning permit, it's the fact that it has to be processed. It's a different, I'm not a software person, but it's a whole different application that has to be put into the system, scanned into the system. The admin staff have it's a different fee. So there's a whole number of think of it as like, anything else, an extra site plan application, like you have to do the same application twice. Our current system isn't flexible and agile. It was cobbled together. We are replacing it this spring sometime when we all have time to do it. So this problem may go away in terms of staff time. I just wanted a sense of whether it was an intentional thing or it grew out of a real discussion about what zoning permits should cover. And I could go on for a half an hour about that, but yeah.
I would say it comes from Glenn Chelder's template somehow. Is very
Okay.
key.
Yeah.
I
This
agree.
is not
I
something that we
agree.
consciously did.
Okay,
Right.
we'll do more,
Nor
a
desire.
deep dive. Yeah, we'll do a deeper analysis of what is there and we'll come, as part of our ongoing discussions, we'll give you
Yeah.
some more
And
recommendations.
And I'll just say that you've already taken on most of the tasks, but you've purposely, made staff more important to the whole process of helping the public. And the spirit and the purpose of this whole rewrite was to make it more public friendly and to make it more streamlined. And anything we can do to move that
Get
along,
there. Mhm.
get there. And you're helping. That's great.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So then just a little housekeeping. Can I have a motion for someone to accept the three items that Anne proposed here today, though, number 1, 2, and 4?
So
I'll make a
moved, Mr.
motion that
Chairman.
we accept the three items that Ann
Yeah, Frank
proposed.
Second.
beat you to it there, Bill.
All right.
Sorry, Bill, not on.
I thought you had to say it.
All right, we have a motion in a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, that is approved. We'll go to approval of minutes from October 18th, 2023. Was anyone able to review those minutes?
Yeah, I have an overarching comment, and and I realize that these minutes were not taken in the normal way, but we're referring to each other as commissioners, and we're referring to the town planner by her first name. And I think that that's inappropriate. I think that if we're going to refer to the town planner, we should, if each of us is designated as a commissioner, she should be designated as the town planner, A, and B, she should be designated by her last name and not her first name.
Yep. I
Good
don't have a
point.
problem with that.
Makes sense.
Understood. If I may, we had somebody pinch hitting here. Pinch hitting, is that the right word?
Yes.
From inland wetlands, and she's fairly new to writing minutes, so I don't think that was an intentional slight. I think it's just she was fairly new, and I will say also as an aside that Judith is back and she's here to save me, so
Thank you, Janique.
thank you for coming
Yes,
back.
so, I mean, and I can, go in and tweak those if needed. I could
Yeah,
change.
so would I hear a motion to approve the 10:18 minutes with that adjustment?
So moved.
Thanks, Frank.
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Please say
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously, and we also have minutes from December 6th, 2023. Was anyone able to review those minutes?
Substantially correct from what I read.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Bill.
Second,
Second from Larry. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. And anything else that we need to go over?
Nope, I am done.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
The town.
Come on, John.
So moved.
Thank you, Frank. The second to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
All in favor, wave goodbye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Scott. Thank you.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you.
Happy New Year
Happy
all.
New Year all.